Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Kira. Do you remember me? Did you miss me? Boy, I missed you. As a matter of fact, we all missed you here at JBDC on the Entrepreneur's Journey. Good afternoon to you guys out there in the Zoom and on YouTube and on IG. We are back with another episode of the Entrepreneur's Journey today, April 30th. And today we'll be speaking with multi-passionate entrepreneur Tanya Powell Edwards of Tanya's Body Care, one of the many projects that this woman has going. Tanya, like many entrepreneurs, started out with Tanya's Body Care out of a personal problem. She started making natural products for herself and her family after having a personal episode, a health episode, where she had to remove a fibrocystic lump from her breast and started doing her research on how to have access to more healthy personal care products. And the story started there in terms of the products that I don't know if you are familiar with them, but if you are a natural product shopper, you will see these goods in like earth elements and proactive lifestyles. All of the popular, well-known distributors and retailers in Jamaica have her products, and she's also exporting these products through her website, tanyasbodycare.org. Now, why did I say this one is multi-passionate? Because Tanya did not start out there. She actually has a background in media. She's now an acclaimed author, and she also is coaching people and in sales. So you get the idea when I say this woman wears many hats. Tanya, say good afternoon to our viewers.
Good afternoon to you here, and good afternoon to every single one that is online. It's my pleasure to be here with you today and looking forward to this interview.
I am too. You know, it's so good to start off this financial year, this season of the entrepreneur's journey with an entrepreneur like you, because we have so many different faces, so many different personalities, and so many different sides that have come on this program to tell their entrepreneurial story.
Right.
And yours, I think, is just so dynamic, and I hope it connects with other creatives out there and other persons who may not have seen themselves or thought of themselves as pursuing entrepreneurship and developing something out of just interest. So Tanya, tell us how you move from being in media to now selling body products and writing books and all of these things. How all of that happened?
Well, first, I think I must give God thanks for that because I did not know it would happen. So if somebody had told me like 10 years ago, I'd be like laughing at them. Because I was passionate about media. I loved it. I worked very, very hard. And I thought I would have been in media until retirement. But then the journey took me from media into going to do a first degree in counseling, and then in training and education, and then
That must sound like linear, Tanya. That's not a linear course. So you mean it take you media take you to counseling? How? What? What was the prompt?
Okay. Let me tell you, as I worked in media, I did the morning show with Alan and Doreen. I did Hotline with Barbara Gludon. Prior to RGR, I was at KLAS and I worked with Monty Perkins and all these people. Now, when you work on a talk show, for the most popular stations in Jamaica, people who listen think that their solution lies at the station. So people would come with all natures of problems to RJR to seek a solution. And as the producer, I was the one who had to interact because the host was on the air. And so when I started feeling like I needed to do some additional studies and I prayed about it and I thought, okay, I'm going to do mass comm, right? The answer that came to me blew my mind Because as I sought through the answers, what came to me was, you need to study counseling. And I was like, counseling? And nobody understood it at the time. But now looking back, I think it's a perfect fit, because people who work in communications, a lot of them have to be caring people. To go out there and write a story about somebody who's been murdered and to consider the family, you have to apply some care, right? And so at first it felt like north and south, but I think it's a perfect fit, actually.
I see it. It does take some empathy to
Yes,
tell other people's stories. And that's what you essentially do in media, in communication, is to tell
right.
stories. So I get it.
Yes,
So now,
yes.
Taylor, so how are you using that counseling now, though? Are you hearing me?
I use counseling on a daily basis. Yes, on a daily basis, because people are always in need. There's always a challenge, there's always a problem. And when you meet upon people, sometimes I do counseling free, because when you meet a situation where somebody is not at peace mentally and they just need somebody to help listen to them to navigate what they're going through, it's just natural. And so I do counseling, I would say, on a daily basis.
Every day. I get
Yes.
you. I get you. So tell us about your business, Tanya's Body Care. Is this the only project that you're running at the time, at this time?
All right. So let me say I am Tanya, but I named the business Tayna's. So it's Tayna's Body Care, Taynas.
Oh,
And let me say that I've never entered anything thinking that I'm going to do multiple things, right? So when I started Tayna's Body Care, I was like, okay, put the counseling aside, put media aside, and just focus on this. However, what I've found is that the counseling is very important to making products as well. When somebody calls you, I see that look, but when somebody calls you and say, to you, do you have anything that can work for acne? I don't just offer a soap, because sometimes your problem could be internal. So even though I'm not a dermatologist, it could be stress related. So if the person has time, I may ask them a couple other questions before I recommend a particular product to them. So the counseling, it's like, it's such a natural part of me that it goes into everything that I do.
I get that. So you are actually what I'm hearing you say is that you basically found a way to just add that training that you received and infuse it in everything that you're doing, because
Absolutely.
it's if I'm not putting words in your mouth, it's as if this is the when you ask people, so what is the philosophy or the ethics that you go by? I sometimes ask entrepreneurs that, what ethics do you go by as an entrepreneur? And to me, it sounds like empathy is a very big one for you. I
It
think
is a very big one for me. And another important principle in counseling is do no harm.
right.
And so when you're making your products, you talk about in product making, they may call it good manufacturing
Practices.
principles.
Mhm.
But the idea of do no harm is, what products are you making? What are you putting in it? What effect should it have on the body? What
Mhm.
percentages? If somebody calls you to say that the product that you made has harmed them, you should be able to know if that product has the potential to do so. So it's very, very important to apply these principles. I tell you, being an entrepreneur, it's not just about making an income. It is about impacting people's lives in different ways.
Hallelujah. Yes. Yes. As you said, it's, I thought of you are intuitively following what has recently been brought into the school of entrepreneurship under design thinking, because that is
Mm,
exactly how entrepreneurs are being taught, innovators are being taught now to develop products, is to use empathy. It is to connect with your audience, your target audience, such that you are making something that really is in response and in direct alignment with what they need, who they are, and that kind of thing. So yeah, naturally.
Yes,
Cool.
I could
Very
actually
good.
teach in that school too, because it's all up my street.
Another hat.
It's all up there.
All right. So tell me, how is it? How has the shift been for you? Because in media you are employed. Tell me how this transition into entrepreneurship, what's been the most significant difference in terms of your experience, um, being your own boss and directing your own.
I can tell you that having this responsibility is something that I would have run away from, like Usain Bolt, right? Because when I worked as an employee, I found comfort in working hard and knowing that it was somebody else's responsibility to put my pay together and deposit it into the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Now, becoming an entrepreneur is a total shift, where sometimes enough might not even be there to put in the bank, But what I'd love to say is that it is very fulfilling despite the many challenges, because there is that word you mentioned earlier, the creativity, right? When you are employed, yes, you can be creative. And in media, I was allowed to be very creative. And so I enjoyed it. But here it is that you control your time, even though by controlling your time, you may still find yourself working till 3 a.m. in the morning to get things done. But you answer to yourself in many cases. You can create your schedule. It's just very, very different. There is a freedom in it, although with that freedom comes a lot of responsibilities to ensure that your products are made on time with the quality that you're looking for and to get out into the hands of the customers.
What has been the most challenging part of the transition for you?
I think in the beginning, it was trusting myself and having that level of confidence that I can do this, right? And I remember that when I started and it was just a hobby, my mind was blown because people were saying, Tanya, I passed you and you smell so nice. What are you wearing? And I'm like, well, I'm wearing my own perfume. Or they'd say, oh my God, your skin looks so nice. What products are you using? I'm like, well, I make my own soaps or I make my own deodorant. And they'd be saying, well, I want it. I want it. And I was like, Lord, what is for me now, Jesus? Yes, it works for me and it works for my family. But there was just something very different about doing something that was going to be outside of the people who know you. And that is where JBDC came in. When I started realizing knew exactly what I was doing, find a place that can help me. And so I found JBDC, and it is in coming to JBDC and sitting there with the video, Winsome, I was like, she was like, yes, you have something going. And so it was at first developing that confidence that yes, you can work outside of the media space, you can work outside of the counseling space, and you can create these lotions and body oils that can be to other persons. So I'd say first to then be to becoming a business.
Okay, so Tanya, I'm gonna confess, I don't know if it's on your end or on my end, but I had to be like, filling in some of the pieces because sometimes it went a little distorted. But I think I got the essence of what your response was, that, you know, the confidence was just a little bit different when you had to take it outside of the family and for yourself. And you found a way to overcome this fear when you actually went and sought assistance through JBDC,
Right.
and you were supported by your video, who basically affirmed you and said, yes, you have something that can work here, and then started
Absolutely.
to guide you on the path.
Right. Right.
Okay, excellent. So it said that you established the business in 2015. Is this when you formally established, or this is when you started experimenting?
Well, I did the courses. Okay, so I started making my deodorant the top of 2015, and then started making body oils and so on, and then decided to go to the Scientific Research Council to do a course. And then having done course, I used a soap that was made in the supermarket. I started saying,
Tanya,
hello, this is where I found myself. And
Tanya,
so I was, can
Tanya,
you
you hearing me?
hear? Yes,
Tanya?
I am hearing you.
Okay, so I was trying to get your attention
I am
because
hearing you.
this time the distortion was
I'm
significant.
here.
So yes, great that you're hearing me, but I'm telling you that the distortion was significant this time. So, and I'm seeing in the chat that it's also um, translating to the other viewers. So I'm just gonna ask you to just rephrase quickly what you said because I think we missed most of it.
Um,
Hold on.
okay, so what I was saying is that,
Let's do a check and make sure that we're hearing you properly. Say something now.
okay.
Good, yeah.
All right, okay, awesome, wonderful. So in 2015, with the help of JBDC, I registered the business, but I was still in a full-time job.
Okay.
So even though I registered, it was to me just a hobby because, as I said, the confidence wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, I was involved in an accident and then also decided that my full-time job was leaving me too frazzled and frustrated and tired. I loved the job, but the amount of work I was required to do was just leaving me feeling ill. And so I decided to walk away from my job. And then this is where I said to myself, okay, having made that move, how are you going to survive, you know? And it was at that time that I realized, okay, you have this skill. It's not a hobby anymore. It's going to have to become something that is able to sustain you and to help the family, you know? And so 2016 is when I would say that we registered in 2015, but 2016 is when it really got started.
So Tanya, when you made this move, did you like go into like, okay, I'm going to just take this thing really, really seriously now, and you go out and you start writing business plan and start doing financial projections? How did you shifting from hobby to, okay, this is going to be my business, it's going to be my family's business now? How, what, kind of give us a picture of what that process was like and what shifted?
All right, what I'd say is that I love the person you described and wished that I was that person who was just writing business plans and all of that. No, I'm not that kind of person. I would say that I'm a little too laid back sometimes. And so I say that it's more like an evolution because it's happened incrementally. So for example, earth elements became important because this is where I would buy my essential oils to make my products, even when it was just a hobby. And then I got excited. It was like I was trying to convince myself that, wow, you are doing this, you know? And so when that, and they're like, okay, bring us something. And so I started bringing them like 5 soaps. And then they'd go, oh, Auntie Tanya, can we get like 5 more? And can we get 10 more? And can we get 15 more? And can we get 20 more? And I'm like, okay, no, this is serious. I guess it took me a time to believe that that which I was doing was really going to become so important to other people. And so I've had situations where at least 2 times stores have called me and said, listen, there's a run on the store for your product. You need to restock right now, you know? So I love that woman who is just out there with her business plan and doing all of that. And I wish I could be her, but I'm not her. But
Not yet.
I noticed the moment. Well, you know, I work in the moment and I try to seize the moment when it comes. I may not go kicking down doors, but I find my way through the doors in the fullness of time.
I like that. I hear the writer in you there a while ago. Was nicely put. I get you. And just to kind of keep things along the entrepreneurial journey, just sticking the milestone pins, what you're describing. I've seen somebody there on in the Zoom really giving testimony to your products, saying that they are really good and the products speak for you. So that is excellent, excellent feedback. And what I was just going to pin, what you described in terms of a stage of development of a business, because that's why we do this program, the Entrepreneur's Journey. It's really to, one, give people insights behind the curtain, behind the veil of a business person, but also to help them relate and identify the stages of business development in real life, as we would say. So you really were validating that you have a good concept. You're getting your proof of concept there in the field, which is the only place where you can really get it. You have to take this idea, whatever it is, this concept, put it into some tangible form, and then test it with the market. So you were there with your family, yes, hobby stage. But if you're gonna make this into something that can meet the needs of a market, and then you need some external validation, and that's what you basically were getting. And it was, as in, the demand was driving how you then grew and developed. So tell us, where are you now with the business?
All right, so we are now in the growth phase, right? Where we're trying to step up. So all this time we're using small wares and doing a lot and big jobs with small wares. We're in the process of stepping up, probably becoming, well, still at home now, because I like to make calculated moves, right? I am not just in the business of going out to get a store for store's sake, but a part of the growth process is to evaluate. There will come a time to move from home. All of Jamaica and many persons overseas are using the products because they're getting them from their relatives here. We're going to have to mechanize even while we stay as natural as possible, because there's a reason why we're natural. So it is a part of the growth phase to look at a location, to look at how we can, step up on our equipment, how we can produce more in one go rather than working in small batches.
I see. So would you say that you are, in terms of the demand from the market and what your production capacity is now, would you say you're at the top end of that now? Tanya, did you hear me?
I would say that there is room for improvement. Yes, I heard you.
Okay.
There is room for improvement. Right. I think there's a bigger demand than we're able to supply at this time.
Okay, excellent. So now that you're in this growth phase, you were recommended for this program. by your BDO. And that is why, that's one of the reasons why you would have been recommended, is because you are in relationship with a business development officer who is guiding you in this process. So
Right.
I know you said earlier you are not that person, but I don't want you to give people the wrong impression. And the wrong impression would be to say that all of this just happens randomly. You know, it is not random. I don't want anybody to mistake what she has described as being random. There is still a guiding process that is helping you to make sure that you are actually moving from testing to validating to into the growth phase. So we trust that you will actually be doing this with some amount of success, some high degree of success in the near future. Um, what is your ambition? Because I know you have said that you don't and you don't want to be like, just aggressively pushing down doors and stuff. But I know by now you must have a vision. What is the vision that you have for this business? Where do you want it to go? What impact do you want to make?
All right, I'll make a little correction. I can be aggressive, but it's not, it's not my everyday nature. But when when I see what I want, I will go for it, right? But other than that, I can be a little laid back. But also, yes, there is some science involved in growing your business, and there is help needed because you can't do everything on your own, right? And so, for example, JBDC is one of the places where sometimes if you see me there, you think I'm a worker because I'm chilling there waiting for my BDO or waiting on your graphics department to deliver some stuff. Where I want to go with this business is I do want to serve the world. And let me explain. Jamaica, I was saying to my husband yesterday, imagine, because we were driving to do some delivery in Naples, and I was saying, imagine this little dot on the map. But when you're moving from Kingston to Manchester, it takes time. We don't feel small. And I think in a Jamaican's mind is that we are this big, important part of the world, even though we're on this small island. And so when you look at our music and our food, and it's just so phenomenal. People want what we have. And so even we have had orders from as far as Italy, and we have persons in Africa. It might not be a lot right now, but persons in Africa who, whenever they're coming to Jamaica, they're ordering in advance so that their products will be ready. One of the persons online is Kemoy Duhaney, and I met her while I was on vacation in New York, and she sent me an IG message to say, I love your products. Now, because I'm this people person who love to talk to people, I then realized that she was not just a user of the product. She's actually trained in the cosmetology industry, beauty industry. So when she said, I loved your soap, she wasn't just saying it from a layman's perspective. And I was like, oh, okay. So I really want to serve the world. I want to be able to serve Jamaicans in Europe, serve Jamaicans in the Caribbean, serve Jamaicans at home, and also that persons outside of the authenticity of being a Jamaican would look into our culture and say, hey, if Jamaicans are talking about that turmeric soap, I think I need that turmeric soap, right? So it's making that impact. And I should say that part of what I want to do is what Miles Monroe calls dying empty. So now that I realize that I have this gift and I can use it for my family and to bless others, I don't want to go to the grave with it. Right? I want to leave a legacy for my children and for their children as well.
Wow. And I am sure that you will. And I can see that you have started to do that. I took a glimpse at the book that you published recently, and it really speaks to legacy. You know, it speaks to the kind of transformation that a person needs to undergo in order to be able to be able to talk legacy and then to actually start to build it.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that girl who would not have seen herself at this point.
That girl grew up in Kingston in a very small inner city area with parents from the country who stopped going to school very early from about age 12. And I would have seen my parents, I didn't know the word entrepreneurship at the time, but they were working hard for their 5 children. My father eventually built a stall in the 80s when it wasn't so fashionable. And that's where he sold Irish moss and wood roots and so on to feed us. And now Irish moss, again, is such a popular thing. My mom sewed and and fried fish and anything that she could do to put food on the table. But she was a stickler for education. Having stopped school at age 12, she was determined that her children would get an education. So as the oldest girl, she would sit me down and she'd say, you know, Tanya, education is the way out of poverty. You know, and of course she warned me that if I got pregnant before leaving high school, she done with me, right? She was very clear about that. So I grew up with that notion about education being important. I unfortunately experienced sexual trauma at an early age, even though I had parents who were very protective, but you know, we know that persons who, you know, are predators really try to find creative ways of getting their targets. And so I think that much of that experience kind of killed the vibes, I would say, for a while, because you spend so much time trying to heal from that, that you can't see the bigger picture. And so I think in a way, I was probably always destined to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, but I couldn't see it because I spent so much time mentally just trying to heal from the effects of this. And so, out of evil was out of that, I mean, it's what brought about my own empathy for other people. It's what took me to the area of counseling, learning psychology and how to understand people, how to listen to them, and how to help people move from one place to the next place. Even though there were these experiences earlier on, but they have not been victorious in preventing me from getting to where I am at this time. I do feel sometimes like I could have been further ahead, but I'm giving thanks for where I'm at. And so that describes me. And so in the journey, I've discovered, I've been writing, for example, since I was like 15, 16. And, you know, I guess the whole creative thing is just me, and just a love for people and trying to help people come through whatever it is they're going through.
Wow. Wow. You have, just thank you for sharing that and, you know, really, really just helping us to connect with you even more as a person, and relating to that. But, you know, I hope that the the most potent part of what you just said, I don't know if I'm the only one who finds it to be the most potent part, but I hope that it resonates with others, is that even when we have these trying situations, we can take our, those things that would defeat us and turn them into things that empower us and things that actually make us have gifts to offer. We could turn our tragedies into gifts from
Right.
the healing process. And it's just beautiful to see that you have done this and are doing it, at this point. It's the end result of you healing and being able to produce from a new place, a transformed place. So thank you for sharing that. Um, I said earlier, I spoke to you being a creative, and I think it's a timely thing to delve into in terms of, I don't, do you think of yourself as a creative entrepreneur? You do?
I think so. I do. I recognize that there are different types of creativities and so on. And I do, because sometimes I feel so driven. There's so many different ideas. One of the things I want to say to persons who would consider themselves creative or not, Kira, I do not think that there's anyone that is not creative. One of the interviews you did with somebody who works in the IT sector, but has found themselves as an entrepreneur doing ice cream. No, that's like polars apart, right?
Yes, yes.
What I think is that people are on this journey of self-discovery. And there are different ages that you discover more of yourself. So in psychology, they talk about the age stage. So at 25, you're asking, long before 25, but I'm using this as a reference point, you're asking yourselves, who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? You may find some answers and you work and you're okay, and then you get to 35 and you're like, okay, what I did for the last 10 years is great, but is it enough? And so as you journey through life, you are constantly processing and asking yourselves new questions. And by doing so, you may find more of you and new things that you had not considered before.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Boy, I'm loving this conversation. And I don't know. I think for some people it's not so easy though, Tanya. Some people need to give themselves permission to actually go through the changes. It is, Somebody said deep. Yes, it is a deep conversation for real. But I'm just saying that we really need to for the persons who may be having a challenge, give yourself permission to go through the changes. Give yourself self permission to ask the questions and to evolve. You don't have to stay in the same place. Give yourself the opportunity to try something different and to be something different. You never know where it might take you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I'm just excited because I was watching a morning program today, and there's a woman speaking about people finding what it is that they are truly good at and exploring those things, and exploring unconventional ways of making a living. And that's the reason why I even asked you the question about, do you consider yourself a creative entrepreneur? Because it has a certain definition in the space that we're operating in now, as in, persons who are creating content, creating ideas that use the traditional forms of art. So even, the writing and the visual communicative arts and so on. But I like that you're giving us an example of how to stretch our ideas of what creative look like and feel like, and how it can be expressed. And I am pushing my personal agenda is for persons to, yeah, to create new careers, make having a career that suits who you are, normative, because I think the old school way was
Right.
to, oh, you need to fit into this kind of box and that kind of box and so on and so forth. So I am loving this conversation for
Right.
also bringing out that, you know, you can create a career that suits you and that actually supports you if you allow yourself to just explore it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm a big person for getting a skill. So yes, you can get your degrees and because they stretch your mind, but you need a skill, whether it's using your voice or using your hands. Just to say, look at this. This piece of artwork that's here was actually a piece I did in fifth form. And even though I didn't pass the art test because of different reasons, this is a fifth form piece from high school. In addition, this is a bracelet that I made myself because I went to do a jewelry course as well. So I could have decked out and put on more things, right? So I really just believe that we are not one dimensional. If I had a sewing machine, I could make myself a skirt because I know how to cut and make a skirt. The blouse is a little more tricky, but there are just many ways that we can help ourselves. Now, when we go to school, teachers have a hard task because they are looking at us from the time they spend and they're trying to channel us into careers to make money. But while money is important, sometimes you get locked into a career serving somebody, which is a good thing, Kira.
Yes.
But you are going to feel so fulfilled if you take a piece of fabric and you can sew a dress for yourself. You're going to feel so good if you walk out on the road with a necklace that you made for yourself. You're going to feel so good if you braid your own hair and somebody says, wow, you know? And it's an amazing thing because the reason why I'm pushing this is I've listened to a lot of speakers. Some people say find that one passion and go after it, right? Some people say find multiple passions and go after it. But when I evaluated, when I at 40, when I started this business, my mother was surprised. She was like, so Tanya, where was this all along? I was like, Mommy, God, he knows, right? I have made money from making jewelry. I've made money from being a host at events. I've made money from making soaps. Even I've made money from being, hey, that's for me is happiness. I'm not a party girl. I'm a church girl. So apart from church and making products, that's what makes me feel happy.
You know, Tanya, I appreciate this space of the entrepreneur that you're presenting, and I really appreciate the story that you are telling us about your journey. Are you hearing me, Tanya? Because it seems as if you're frozen. Are you hearing me?
I am hearing you. I'm hearing
Okay.
you. Yeah, clearly. I'm hearing you clearly.
Okay, so you're frozen for everybody. So we're not seeing you, but we're hearing you. You probably just have a little low bandwidth issue going on, but we're
Not
hearing
sure
you, so that's
why
fine.
I'm here.
Yeah, but we're hearing you, which is very important and most important. Thank you. Boy, Kemoy is a real big fan of yours because she has been really just shooting up
She
chat.
is. She definitely is.
I also want to remind our viewers who may be on Instagram or YouTube on the YouTube live watching that you may shoot questions to Tanya while we're here. We have a few minutes left for her to answer if you want to find out something from her or even just to make a comment. You can do that. Yes, she's saying she's a huge fan. Great. And same for you guys here in chat as well. Please make your comments and ask your questions. This program is for you. If you are in business, um, Tech is suggesting maybe if you, but I'm seeing you fine now. But if we start having a problem again, maybe you could turn off the video and we just have your voice. But I'm seeing you right now, which is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, just saying you
All right.
guys in the Zoom as well, you could pose your questions, make your comments while we're here. Okay, cool, got you. As we're coming into the final stages of our talk, Tanya, what is the well, first, before I get there, who do you get your inspiration from, your entrepreneurial inspiration from? So like, we always talk about having a network that is diverse to support your business and support your own personal growth. And you can get that through mentorship and through reading and all kinds of different things. What is your source and your ways of helping to grow you and grow your business?
All right, so I have multiple ways. I should say one, that prayer is very important to me. So I pray about where I'm at and where I'm supposed to get to. I will call Winsome at JBDC when I have issues that I think I can't solve. So I'll pass ideas through her and listen carefully because of her experience. I've had support from Sisters Inc., Opa Levy. So I could just go to her office and we could chat and just, share my heart, listen to persons in the business sector who are not necessarily product makers, but they have experience in business. So occasionally I'll book sessions and I'll go to say, okay, this is where I'm at in my journey. Based on your experience, what advice would you give me? And I make notes of those. Some I implement right away. Some I may have to put other things in place to begin to implement them. And I also spend a lot of spare time on YouTube. So I look at other entrepreneurs, listen to their entrepreneurial journey. So I have like a multiple tier system.
Excellent, excellent. And I raise because it is so important for here at JBDC. I think we have over the years influenced a perspective. Not that it originated with us, but we've helped to really promote in the local space that there are different types of persons who enter into business. Some are entrepreneurial, some are business owners and business managers. We call them owner managers. And whilst there's space and an appropriate regard for each and what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing, the successful people, because we've had the range of them on this program, right, in JBDC as clients. What makes the successful person, whether they're entrepreneurial, going for the big conglomerates, national, international space, whatever, or just a local success that is a well-known brand, is that they have initiative, they have personal drive, they are committed to their own development. They are not dependent or looking for answers that are going to just fall out of the sky or accidentally meet upon them. They are constantly working on preparing themselves. And what you just described to me sounds like a very broad way, yeah, of doing that. And so take notes if you're listening. It's important to how well you would do in the future. Now, the next question I want to ask you is for someone who is listening, maybe whatever stage in life, but maybe they are thinking of transitioning from one role to another, from one type way of being in terms of maybe career, and thinking of going into entrepreneurship. Maybe they were at the stage where you were at when you were doing what you loved, because it is possible to do what you love and still choose to leave it. So what advice would you give to persons who may be at a crossroads, at a point where they're questioning, should I should I pivot? Should I change direction? I mean, we haven't even spoken about pandemic or spoken about the impacts of what that has had on people, you know, in our jobs, in our lives, and the types of mind spaces that people are now occupying. I know it's a big one, but what advice would you give to people who may be in a space of, you know, questioning um, right now?
Right. I would say embrace answers to those questions. And some of the ways in which you may need to find the answer, you may need to find agencies or individuals out of your sphere that you can speak with. Sometimes we have mental blocks where everybody else is seeing our giftings, everyone else is seeing our abilities, but we are fearful and not necessarily seeing them, right? So you may need to find a counselor. You may need to go and sit and have a heart-to-heart talk with this person about, I'm having these ideas, but I'm scared because I'm scared to lose my salary, or I don't think I have enough money, or I don't think I can get a loan from the bank. Go and talk to somebody. Now, there is a scripture in the Bible that says that there is great wisdom in having multiple advice. And so sometimes you need to not just talk to one person, but talk to two or three and see the commonalities in those conversations. Sometimes the people who know you they're always valuable, but they may have their own limitations and may not be able to embrace your thought process, right? So sometimes either your friend's nice job, why you just don't quiet yourself? But ideas are raging in your mind. Now, what I'd like to say is that if you're employed and you have these ideas, start putting them into motion. And it's not necessarily about leaving your job at this time. It's a hobby. Make those things a hobby. Is it writing? Make it a hobby. Is it baking? Make it a hobby. Is it product making? Make it a hobby and share with other people. So we talk, do they say, oh my God, I put it on my face and it burned me? Or, oh my God, it smells so amazing. I felt so calm when I used it. When you write a poem, does it resonate with somebody? So you start doing things incrementally. Don't just lie down on the bed and say, boy, I have this idea, but nobody believes in me. Even if they don't, you have one person who should believe in you, and that's you. And you start moving, start doing something, and know that it's not going to get big overnight, right? And I don't know if you do it outside of JBDC, but it's possible that you may have hosted a lot of free events because you needed the experience, right? And so sometimes you've just got to step out and do things even free just to get that experience and hear what other people are saying. But you would do yourself a great disservice to just have it all going on in your mind and do nothing about it. The final thing I'd like to say about that is if the sem finish and you're going to have regrets, because your gift is in your mind and you've not done anything about it, start doing it now, because regret is not a nice feeling or emotion.
Wow. Tanya, yeah, I think we can say amen in the church. That was powerful. That was powerful. I like how you put the whole advice about confidence and seeking that kind of validation and affirmation. So it's one, you say the one person that should have it is you, and you should really work on having it for yourself, because sometimes nobody not going to have it for you, or you have to just believe in yourself. But then you also flip it and say, sometimes yours might not,
Right.
yours might not be so strong. And in that instance, turn to the people around you because they know you best and they might be a good mirror to reflect for you things that you haven't been seeing, and maybe or just to affirm what you feel deep down inside, but you're just not so, still very timid about it. So I like that you put both
Right.
sides to that. And I really like the fact that you're saying, you can't just sit with the ideas. You can't take the dreams to the grave with you because that's a wasted life. A wasted life. The regret thing. I think it's Jim Rohn that I heard this saying with the pain. You have two different types of pain. You have the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. And the pain of discipline is the lighter one. So don't shy away from just doing what you need to do to make things happen for real. And there's some comments that are coming in, somebody was talking about imposter syndrome, I guess when you're not believing in yourself. And Kimoy was asking for entrepreneurs like yourself, what additional support do you think you could get from the government to scale your business outside of Jamaica, especially in the diaspora? I don't know if you can answer, but I can probably answer.
I know that there are different agencies. I don't know if it's enough, but I know there's the JMA, the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association. I know JBDC works closely as an arm of the government.
Yeah.
What I think sometimes is that scaffolding that small businesses need, there still sometimes seems to be a gap. But I really believe that where the gaps exist, if we put ourselves in a position to explore and to research and to know, because it is in knowing that you can create an action to get around that, And I know that there are some entrepreneurs, Tayna, for example, that's a popular brand, who have kind of crossed that barrier. So it's quite possible. I'm sure there are more things to put in place to make it a little easier. But I guess because of my media background, I know that the conversations are always continuing. And there are times when there are things are in the newspaper to make that happen. I think that one of the things that I'd say is that we need to find a way to make it easier to export local products. A lot of entrepreneurs utilize the post office, right? Post and telecoms. And while the process is easy in terms of sending off, I find sometimes the cost is prohibitive. And so I think some entrepreneurs use the courier services, they use the post office, they use DHL, whatever. But I've found that sometimes if we want to attract more businesses from overseas people have said to me, Tanya, I am frugal, right? So they may find $10 to send off a package as, that's $10 US I could do something else with. Or if it's going to be $30 to make it express, they will get it in 3 days, but they're saying, hey, what could I do with my $30? So they will want a product, but sometimes they're willing to wait until relatives are coming to Jamaica or they themselves to get what they want. And so that is a barrier that I think we need to break through so that more stuff can leave our shores and get into the hands of Jamaicans overseas.
Okay. I thank you for that perspective on that response to that question. The logistics part of getting goods out of the country, but especially for the micro business people,
right?
Still an issue, and one that has space, not necessarily for government, but maybe for a private sector, and an innovative solution to ease that pain that the micro sector is experiencing. It's been a lovely chat, Tanya. Thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom, for sharing your being vulnerable and sharing your story. Sharing your heart with us, because I really felt your heart today. And I hope that the viewers also felt it and were enriched and enlivened by your share. I appreciate the presence of all of you here in the Zoom chat with us today, and whoever may have made it on the live. I don't know if we had the live for any portion of time, may not be up right now. But just thank you guys for tuning in with us again for another episode of the Entrepreneur's Journey. You know, we'll be doing it once a month from here on out. So it was a nice break, but you were missed. The team missed you. I hope you missed us, and we're looking forward to meeting again in this space where we look at the different faces of entrepreneurs, different types of faces of entrepreneurs, and hear the different stories that they have to tell, and hopefully be inspired in our own pursuits of entrepreneurship. Have a blessed day and a very good weekend. And Tanya, much blessings and all the best on your
Thank you so much. It was an amazing experience to be with you. And I enjoyed myself. And to everyone that is listening, be your best self and start doing that today.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you guys. Blessings.